goddamn good is Khabib? How good is Khabib? And obviously Dustin Poirier, as tough as they come. I was rooting for Dustin. I think people can get confused too on my predictions. People are like, oh, you fucked up again. You got it wrong again. Listen, I'm not a journalist. I'm not Ariel Helwani. I'm not Luke Thomas. I don't work for anybody. I've said this since day one. I'm super biased. Dustin Poirier is a friend. You saw him on Food Truck Diaries. Him and Theo Vaughn are very close. I want Dustin to win because I know Dustin personally. I don't know Khabib. I know Khabib as the best 155er on the planet. He's the absolute best at what he does. That's all I know. So when I give predictions, I am very biased because I've met Dustin Poirier's wife, his kid. You know what I'm saying? When I make my picks, that's what I want to happen. Gun to the head, and let's say Showtime goes, hey, if you get this one wrong, we're going to fire you. I'm not picking Dustin Poirier. I can give you exactly how it's going to go down. That's not what I'm into. I'm not interested in that. That's not fun for me. Go listen to that somewhere else. You want the exact X's and O's, who's going to win, black and white? That's not what I'm about. That's not what I want to do. Can I do it? Sure, if I want to. That's not what I do. Go listen somewhere else.
Morning Combat?
Go listen to Morning Combat. Brian Campbell and Luke Thomas are fantastic. They're fantastic. And that's what they do. That's why they're on board. That's what they do, man. I don't want to do that. I was rooting for Dustin Poirier. A fucking minus 400, or I'm sorry, a plus 450 dog. Of course, the chances of him going to win are not good. Here's the takeaways from the Khabib-Dustin Poirier fight. However you're going to approach the fighting Khabib, the game plan of, all right, I'm going to get taken down, I'm going to get back to my feet, and I'm going to look for the open shot. That's not the way you can beat Khabib. That's out. That's out. No one's ever done it. No one's ever done it. If you're a Dustin Poirier fan, or if you're a fan of whoever he fights next and you're rooting against Khabib, you have to, and everyone does this, all of Khabib's fight, you got to avoid the takedown. If you do the takedown, we're all banking on that one big shot or that one submission. To be honest, Khabib's been rocked by Michael Johnson. He got rocked by Dustin Poirier, not terribly. Iaquinta had some success. Conor landed some shots, but we haven't really seen him in trouble. The most trouble Khabib's ever been in was that guillotine Dustin Poirier had him in. We had to roll to his back. Anyone who knows grappling knows when a man rolls to his back, that shit is tight, and that's your emergency. That's when the plane's going down, you yank that cord to get the fuck out. You don't want to be on your back. When Khabib rolls to his back, which I bet he could count on his fucking hand how many times in his entire life, I don't know how old that man is, 29, how many times he's been on his back. Probably 5. That's one of them. When he was a baby, never on his back. Wrestling bears, not on his back. That guillotine must have been goddamn tight. From a black belt at a high level, Dustin Poirier, that thing was cinched in tight and he rolled to his back. That's the most trouble Khabib's ever been in. And he still got out. It still wasn't enough to make that man tap. So when you look at this fight, and I think if you're not a Khabib fan, you're hoping for him to lose, or you're rooting for a guy who is going against Khabib, the day and age or the game plan of just got to weather the storm, got to land a big one, that's not going to work. That's not going to beat Khabib. So how do you beat him? I was watching, I go, how in the fuck is somebody going to beat Khabib? You're not going to knock him out. Granite chin, doesn't risk it a lot unless he wants to. Even then, he'll get you to exchange and then takes you down, rides you like a goddamn camel. Submission, Dustin Poirier, fantastic guillotine. Was kind of there, but he still got out of it. If you have a straight submission artist, that's probably your best bet. You're going to get taken down. You're not going to knock him out. So you got to have a guy who has a fantastic guard, is great in transitions, is dangerous from everywhere. Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson is, if you want Khabib to be beat, Tony Ferguson is the closest thing you're going to get. He's great off his back. He has elbows. He's not afraid to lose rounds. He can stay down there. He has a great guard. He's dangerous. He can wrestle. He's going to make Khabib work down there. A lot of times, guys are just giving him his back, right? They're getting to the 4-point stance, and Khabib's been doing that since he's a kid. He's riding you, wearing you out. That's what everyone's trying to do. If I'm a coach and I'm game planning against Khabib, I'm watching all these guys fail at that game plan and going, we're not going to do this. That's clearly not the path to victory. We're going to have to embrace this. You're going to have to be filthy off your back and create transitions, create scrambles. The chance of you knocking him out's not good either. It's going to have to happen in these transitions as the rounds go on. Well, Tony Ferguson is the only guy who gets better after rounds. Better cardio, better, more dangerous. Embraces being on his back. Embraces you on top of him. Thrives off that. Wants the war. Wants to drag you into the deep waters. And I don't think there could be a better time to have Khabib versus Tony. And you know what? Which is strange. When Khabib's like liver or whatever gave out when he was trying to make weight and they didn't make that fight happen, that was the most heartbroken I've ever been in the entire mixed martial arts history of fights falling apart. I want to see that fight so bad. There could not be a better story, a better time than now to create this fight. Because what are these two fighting for? If they would have fought, what was that, a year and a half ago? If they would have fought then, you could debate is for the best 155er of all time. Now it's a clear cut, golden pathway to the best 155er of all time. Is it Khabib? Is it Tony? I can make an argument for Tony. I can make an argument for Khabib. And they're going to fight. So I don't need to make an argument. They're going to make it very clear who's the best. But that fight, and I'm down to argue this for anyone who wants to say, oh, well, BJ Penn, he held a different belt in two different weight classes. It doesn't work like that. Mixed martial arts is so new in sports and the history of mixed martial arts. The newer version's always better. Is always better. In boxing, you can say Muhammad Ali was better than Lennox Lewis. That's fine. The sport's been around so long, we can look at their body of work, and there's kind of one way to do it. In mixed martial arts, it's not that way. It's so new in the grand scheme of things. Khabib would have beat every guy BJ beat within fucking 2 minutes. And it's not a knock on BJ. The level of competition, the level of nutrition, the level of coaching, the more well-rounded guys, the more eyeballs, the more science into it. He's a specialist of all specialists. So it's the same as like the first Tesla was good. The next Tesla's better than that one. If you want to take it on the track. So if you want to take let's say, when was BJ reigning his belt? 2003? When he was fighting those Frank Edgar ones, that Matt Hughes one was good. So I would say the Diego, so that's what, 2009. Yeah. He lost to BJ by he lost to St. Pierre, split decision before. So let's say 2009. And you have some guys who are still fighting, like Frankie, Diego Sanchez, Kenny Florian. This isn't a knock on any of those guys, but if you took a Porsche GT3 from 2009 and raced it against all the cars in 2019 GT3s, it's gonna beat the shit. The next level, the next generation is always better than the older generation, especially in mixed martial arts. Not in everything, not in NBA, not in NFL, because those have been around for so long. The athletes might be better, but doesn't mean it's a better player, a better fighter. Here, though, when it comes to mixed martial arts, what Khabib does and the level that he's fighting at, he's the best of all time. Then you look what Tony Ferguson has done. He's won how many in a row? What's interesting to me about Khabib is he's 20-8. He went into the fight 27-0. You can count on your hand how many rounds he's lost. You can maybe give a round to Iaquinta, but really that's an ass whooping. I think we look back on that fight because he didn't dominate how we thought he should dominate, right? So you're like, man, he kind of struggled with Al. There's some 10-8 rounds there. So Conor McGregor, that you might be able to give him one of those fights, or were you hoping Conor won one of those rounds? You know what I'm saying? Like there's where Conor had some success, but compared to what? Other than that, he doesn't lose rounds, let alone fights. Word on the street is he doesn't lose rounds ever, even in practice. Doesn't lose a round. Name guy AK doesn't beat Khabib. So how do you beat that? You'd have to be a specialist at such a high level in grappling to kind of negate what he's doing. The top of the head, again, Tony Ferguson, he's a specialist off his back in transitions with Darces, Anacondas. He has cardio. He's very unorthodox. So I do like it because Khabib can't bring in a guy to mimic Tony Ferguson. Tony can't bring in a guy to mimic Khabib. That's why I love that fight so much. There's guys like a George St. Pierre, who I hate to say I don't think beats Khabib, man. With that much time off, I'm sure he could maybe stay behind his jab and try and do that. That could be, for my argument. Let's see, because GSP is an old school guy. Let's see if those old school Hall of Famers can come back and beat the new age. That's a great fight. But for Khabib, I think it goes. You can't do anything else but Tony Ferguson. You can't do anything else but Tony Ferguson. And this is why the UFC kicks boxing's ass in just overall, just the evolution of the sport and how much faster it's growing than everything else right now, is because they are making the fights we want to see right now. Masvidal, Nate Diaz, thank you. Tony Ferguson, Khabib, thank you. After that, GSP, I think that's it. The Conor McGregor Khabib fight's not there for me. I'll watch it and I'm a fan. I'd be intrigued by it. It's not there. I don't have to see that. We've seen that. It's just Conor doesn't possess the skills. I'm telling you, man, a guy who's just going to hope to get back to his feet and knock Khabib out isn't going to beat this man. You have to have a guy who has the X factor with cardio, submissions off his back, and is willing to engage on the ground, not trying to get back to his feet. Another guy they'd have to meet at a catch weight would be Ben Askren. I'd love to see them. Oh, he got knocked down by Masvidal. Shut it. I get it. Khabib's not knocking him out like that. They're going to be forced to engage in this grappling battle. It'd have to be at 65, which I think Khabib would entertain. But Khabib he's a huge star. Huge star. So I doubt he would entertain that, especially after Ben's coming off a loss. But I think for Khabib, he talks about he doesn't want to fight that long. All right, we got Tony Ferguson, which is the straight up battle for the best 155er of all time. And then you got GSP, and he even called out GSP. So outside that, I don't see anyone else getting a shot. I know people go, oh, what if Justin Gaethje were to beat Cerrone? It's just not there. I don't see that happening. It is an intriguing matchup with his wrestling background, but I just don't see Khabib taking that fight. I think he's going to do two. I think you're going to get Tony Ferguson, and then maybe if GSP doesn't play ball with the UFC brass, then maybe you could get a Justin Gaethje if he just steamrolls through Don Cerrone. But Khabib, man, the specialist of all specialists. I think Luke Thomas brought this up on his show too, is all of us go, man, the future of mixed martial arts is everyone's being well-rounded. You got to be so well-rounded, and that's the future. There's gonna be kids who they're not black belts in jiu-jitsu, or they're not Greco-Roman Olympic medalists. They're good at everything. What we're finding out though is people that don't focus on one thing, they're decent at everything, but they're not one of a kind, dominant in wrestling or grappling or striking. The ones who are the ones who kind of own this goddamn game right now, if they have one major base. So I think, and Luke brought up a fantastic point, is we always thought that being well-rounded and having a kid start and developing skills and everything, so he's a mixed martial artist, is the best way to go. But you look at the greatest of all time, it's really not like that, is it? You look at a guy like Stylebender with the striking, who's so dominant striking, or Wonder Boy. Woodley's a wrestler. These guys have these incredible foundations. I guess to that argument, Tony Ferguson has a pretty fucking strong wrestling credential. John Jones wrestling credential, because they dictate where the fight goes. But if they're just average, if they never wrestled at a Division I college or in JUCO or competed at that level, and they just practice with those guys, you can get good, but you're never going to beat the guy who specializes in that. When you look at the history of the sport, you're like, God, man, sometimes when you try to cover all your bases, you're good at some things, you're average at others. Well, if you're just average at that one thing, these guys are so goddamn good, they're going to expose that. It's a specialist world, man. And we went away from that, and now it's completely back to that. And I love it. I love guys trying to figure out the Khabib puzzle, and no one has. Hold up. Not only no one's even close to figuring out that Rubik's Cube of Khabib. It hasn't even been close. Not even close. John Jones been closer to defeat than Khabib. You know, the Gustafsson, Santos,
yeah.
Anthony Smith. Like there's been close, you know. He got caught with the armbar with Vitor. You know, there's been some close calls. He's still the greatest of all time, but then you look at Khabib like, oh shit, he only got kind of guillotined. Well, Michael Johnson rocked him. Yeah, then he beat him into oblivion and made him apologize, like to Dana White, cage side. It was crazy. Beating his ass going, Dana, please give up. You have to stop. I need that title shot. Just beating his ass. I'm like, good God. This guy's a fucking savage, man. But whatever, I would look back over Khabib's career and go, all right, all these guys tried to weather the storm. Didn't work. All these guys tried to weather storm and land the big one or catch them in something. You can't. You can't. If I can't grapple and I don't have a dangerous guard, I'm not even taking that fight. You're not in the running. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, man.